Articles of impeachment have been introduced in the House of Representatives. Now, Than, it's possible that they are acted on as early as today or tomorrow, correct?
Yes, I think tomorrow would be the first time that they would actually take them up, but they're active, Jay. They were introduced this morning during the pro forma session.
It is one article of impeachment for incitement of insurrection. They rely, of course, on the facts of what took place that horrible day last week. They also point to the 14th Amendment, Section 3, which talks about the disqualification clause. It's the disqualification clause of the United States Constitution. And it says that no person shall be a senator, representative in Congress, or elector of president and vice president, or hold any office under the United States or any state who, and then you read down to it, shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. In other words, the argument is that what took place during the events leading up to the attack on the United States Capitol, that process, it's not just the act itself, but the process leading up to that constituted an incitement for insurrection. Andy, that's the legal theory they're going with, but understand, everyone, it's not a legal process. It is a political process.
That's right, Jay. What impeachment is what the House of Representatives at any particular time in history defines as a high crime and misdemeanor. And it's not a legal definition. It is a political definition that is made by members of the House of Representatives based upon acts that they feel are impeachable offenses. And as I say, it's a political decision. It's not a legal decision. What is a high crime and misdemeanor is determined, as I said, at any time in history based upon what the majority of the House of Representatives decides. Now, of course, the Senate has to try the case and has to convict or acquit, but it is a political process all the way through.
Okay, so I'm going to go to Wes, then Jordan. So, Wes, as you're looking at the articles of impeachment, you see the tone difference between the Ukraine situation that we dealt with this very month last year, 1 year ago, and this are very different.
Yeah, absolutely. This is much more, if you believe the charges black and white, they're accusing the president of violation of his constitutional duty, his oath, that the laws be faithfully executed. That is a very, very serious charge. It's even though impeachment is a political act, this is not a criminal trial. This is a political trial, if you will. But still, that's a very, very serious charge that is not nebulous like what we witnessed last year
on foreign policy.
On foreign policy and on a phone call. If they can prove to enough members of the House of Representatives that he actually
the House of Representatives, I think, is a foregone conclusion.
It is foregone.
I would assume they're going to be impeached.
Exactly. But in the process, though, they're saying that he actually incited this. He incited an attack on the United States government at the Capitol building. Yeah. That is a black and white serious charge.
Well, it's a serious charge. Now, the arguments are going to be. I mean, it's not a self-proving charge, though. I said people need to understand. I mean, the due process. There are some due process requirements here. Now, the argument is going to be, and I know I heard that Alan Dershowitz may well be one of the lawyers defending, maybe the lawyer defending the president. This is not going to be a lot of factual analysis here. It's going to be a legal analysis, and Professor Dershowitz, of course, is known as a First Amendment lawyer. Among other things. I mean, he's a criminal defense lawyer as well. But I'm sure that will be the defense that will probably be raised if it gets that far. And, Jordan, that's the big question here. Does the Senate, or what happens if they delay it 90 days? What happens? Do they try to negotiate around this and just say, get it, it's behind us and get it over? What do you think?
I mean, they have to accept it. So, I mean, that's the part of the Constitution is that those articles are delivered. They have to do something with it. The question is, remember, it will be Chuck Schumer, will be the majority leader, but this is a 50-50 Senate, and this is a 2/3 majority that's required to convict. So Kamala Harris, in her role as a vice president at that time or president of the Senate, has no role in playing like a tie-breaking vote because it takes more than 51. So you've got a situation where they would have to figure out how to deal with it. And I think that if the House delivers this, so if this moves forward, I mean, could they dismiss it? Of course they could. I'm sure they could come up with rules, and Dan's talked about, they make up kind of the rules they want to govern the impeachment trial. So could they offer up a immediate dismissal? I think they could, but at that point, I think there'd be too much pressure on the Democrats. The problem I see is that if the Pelosi and the Democrats push this out of the House, there is going to be a trial. And then before that trial, there's going to be a constitutional legal battle over whether or not you can even move forward with that trial, considering this is a former president, and the Constitution talks about active presidents, active officials, and the only precedent we have for someone who a trial began, the person had the ability to leave office and did. This president at this point would not. He would have already served out his entire term and left normally peaceful transition of power like he has discussed. And so that, to me, it sets up two battles constitutionally in the courts, and then second in the Senate on exactly how to move forward with this trial. Because again, as you pointed out, that it's not like the impeachment we all worked on, where you've got a number of facts, tons of information, these phone calls, these transcripts, all those people that were interviewed, remember, by the House of Representatives, publicly, some privately, and behind the scenes, and then all of that information coming to light. And even that was, for impeachment purposes, quick. This situation, which only involves one article and really one significant charge, could be rather quick, I guess, in the due process side, but it would be 100 days later. The further you get away from the actual events, the further you get away from the House coming with any record at all, which it doesn't seem they will. This is their entire record, would be the article of impeachment. I think, again, it just makes it so tough on the country. I don't really care where you are when I'm talking about this, whether you'd like to see that president impeached and thrown out right now because of what happened or not. That won't happen under this scenario. And so what we're going to be dealing with is, do you want your U.S. Senate tied up for a couple of weeks at least, 100 days after Joe Biden becomes president, which is how they're talking about doing it, on impeaching a former president? And if you don't like President Trump, why do you want to give him this kind of attention right out of the bat, right at the beginning? It will actually kind of be the discussion of all discussions, because those previous legal battles, Dad, about whether or not you could even have this trial will have to happen before that 100 days. So he will be in the news, like it or not, if you're Joe Biden or a Democrat, for the first 100 days of your presidency. And it's going to be more interesting news than putting up former bureaucrats as the next CIA director.